Do you like shows like Game Changer or Make Some Noise? Are you a fan of improv, like Whose Line Is It Anyway? Or maybe you're just looking for a new podcast to binge. In a sea of true crime, regurgitated Reddit posts, and interview podcasts, there's one show that's unlike any other, and that's Distractable. Hi, I'm Lucy, the Golden Goose of Legend and a fairytale angel princess. But none of that matters. I'm here to talk about one of my special interests, Distractable. But what is that? Distractable is a comedy podcast started in May 2021 by the hosts Mark, Bob, and Wade, who are all content creators. They have no guests, just the three of them telling stories, playing games, and making each other laugh. The premise is simple. One of them hosts while the other two compete for points, and whoever has the most points at the end hosts the next episode. How points are assigned is arbitrary, and sometimes it isn't. There aren't strict rules until there is, and yes, they all get easily distracted. I personally love the show, and I want more people to watch, which is why I made the unofficial beginner's guide. That's right. Send this to your friends, families, enemies, and coworkers. This is the perfect introduction to Distractable. Maybe you're one of the lucky individuals who got sent this video. In which case, please watch the video. Please. But let's be honest, you're probably already a fan of the show. You're watching this with your hands hovering over your keyboard, waiting to verbally tear me apart. Go ahead, get in the comments. I'll read every single one of them and take them all personally. But if you are new to the show, let me start off by introducing you to each of the hosts, or as I like to call them, the Distract Boys. Starting off with the more famous of the group, Mark, aka Markiplier.
Anyway, I'm your host, Markiplier, here to give you the best quality entertainment you've ever asked for or ever not asked for.
Notable YouTuber, known for his horror Let's Plays and his first-person choose-your-own-adventure movies, he also does a great deal of charity work. However, more recently, you may know him as the director, writer, editor, and star of the box office hit Iron Lung. He loves to talk about tech stuff, vaguely alluding to his projects, and whatever hyperfixation he has. Hard drives, camera lenses, a render farm. Next we have Wade, or Lord Minion 777.
He jests its scars never felt a wound, but soft what light the yonder window breaks. 'Tis the east, and distractable is the sun.
Truly the duality of man. He's simultaneously one of the dumbest and one of the smartest. Generally, he's very silly, however sometimes he will absolutely shock you by quoting perfect Shakespeare. He is often struck with the worst luck with plumbing for some reason, and he loves to talk about food, basketball, and philosophy. He does not understand tech stuff and generally will not engage with it. Finally, we have Bob, aka Meisker.
Hey guys, I have a baby.
He's the only one in the group to have a kid, which he brings up often, and is well known for his fridge problems. He's also into tech stuff, though not quite to the same degree as Mark. However, unlike Wade, Bob will engage with Mark when he talks about it. Also, he's my favorite. Not because he's the best host or the funniest, but because he's the least annoying. See, both Mark and Wade have the tendency to be a bit bratty. Mark's brattiness comes from his stubbornness. Sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes, he becomes ornery and obstinate, and this can be used in a very humorous way, but it can also be irritating. Wade can be a bit of a sore loser. And a sore winner too. He also sometimes doesn't pay attention. As someone who can easily get distracted, I am not here to cast stones. And also, it's really funny when he has no idea what's going on. I'm just saying sometimes it can be annoying. But Bob, I tried to think of what would annoy me about him and I couldn't come up with anything. He's engaging, he's a brilliant storyteller, his wife comes up with the best episodes, I'm sorry, I like him. So now that you know the hosts a little bit better, let's talk about the format of the show. Every episode starts with an introduction from Baltimore. He's not one of the hosts, he just opens the show and gives a humorous brief on what will happen in the episode.
Good evening, gentle listener, and welcome to Distractable.
The show has two segments. The first is the small talk portion, where the guys catch up on each other's lives, share news stories, and or talk about current events. The second half, or the main part of the episode, generally takes two different formats. In the first, the host sets a topic. This could be anything from something as vague as hair, as complex as philosophy, or something as silly as who's the best horror movie villain. The competitors share stories or come up with ideas related to the theme. This is especially evident in the earlier episodes. As the show evolved, they started to get more creative. The hosts started coming up with games. This has produced a variety of episodes from quizzes to improv to even D&D-esque adventures. I should mention that not every episode follows either of these formats strictly. Sometimes the guys will just chat the entire episode, or they do a tier list, or maybe one of the hosts will spend an entire episode sharing a traumatic event. You never know what you're going to get. The show is called Distractable. As I said at the beginning, points are rewarded throughout the episode, even in the small talk portion. What earns points is completely up to the host, like if it made them laugh, or it could be pity points. However, even in the episodes where there is a game with rules, the points given can still be random. At the end of the episode, a victor is declared. In the earlier episodes, the winner was decided capriciously. As we will get into, it has become more based on points, usually whoever has the most. Sometimes there will be two winners. The winner makes a winner speech, the loser makes a loser speech, and the host will wrap up the episode by saying podcast out. Every year the show evolves in some way, so I have broken it down into 5 distinct eras. Technically the show has seasons, however they're kind of confusing, so I prefer my version. Starting with the beginning, this is where the show was still figuring out its footing and focused more on the guys sharing life stories as well as loose improv. In 2022 there was a shift in the podcast in the episode Wade's Secret Words, or as I like to call it, the fun and games era. From then on, the episode started introducing more game-focused ideas. Episodes like Anything Goes or the Distractable Game Show are good examples. In 2023, the show changes again, this time when they get a Spotify deal. On Spotify, they would exclusively have video, though there would be audio-only options on other platforms. They also started releasing 2 episodes a week, turning this from a weekly podcast to a semi-weekly podcast. In February of 2024, there was a huge shift when they actually made a constitution in the episode titled The Council Distractable. Previously, the boys would joke about there being a constitution, however before this episode there were no set rules. This created a little bit of a standard. Even though they remember almost none of what's actually in this constitution, the main thing they retain is that you have to write down what earns points now. There's a lot of things that they refer to as part of the Constitution, however, it often isn't, like how technically they can still make under-the-table handshake deals, but they often refer to that as being illegal now. Also, there's the idea of throwing a red flag. This has never been really used, so you can basically ignore that. And then there's the biannual boat episode. That's also in there. More importantly, the tie wheel is introduced. If the host fails in choosing a winner, he must spin a wheel with the other 2 contestants' name on it, and a 10% chance that it will end up on the host's name. If it does land on the host's name, he, the host, must perform a one-man show written by the other 2. And every time the wheel is spun, the percentage of chance that it will land on the host's name is supposed to increase by 2%. But they did not keep track of that, so yeah. The first instance of the one-man show clause led directly into the next era, which is the current one. In 2025, they updated the Constitution again in the Council of Distractable Part 2, this time introducing a new element of bonus points. At the end of every episode, they spin 2 wheels. The first to determine how many bonus points will be awarded, between 1 and 3, then a second wheel where any number of things could happen, mostly awarding 1 point to someone, but sometimes it takes away a point, or we have sudden death, which means they immediately go to the tie wheel. Random things on the wheels include worst luck, no point, fastest response, drink the most, best mental image, half point for Wade, best $1 million idea, best looking, point for listeners, point for viewers, shirt closest to background, add 2 spins, lover video games, most distracted, most perceptive, most locked in, hosted previous episode, hardest thinker, least points, dropped the most items, surprise golf rules, drooled the most, etc., etc. Before the wheel is spun, the host must add something new to the wheel. Again, if it ends up in a tie, the same consequences apply, but this time they're keeping track of how many times they spun the wheel, and once the one-man show is triggered, it is reset to 10%. Another thing they added was the unfair coin flip, where if anyone at any time says the word unfair, all 3 of them must flip a coin. If it's all heads, the coins have determined that whatever it was is in fact unfair and must be rectified. If the coins are all tails, however, whatever was unfair is actually completely fair and must be made doubly fair. It is up to the host to decide how exactly to make it doubly fair. Any other result is neutral, meaning there's no consequence, and whatever action is neither fair or unfair. This clause can only be used once per episode, so once someone declares unfair, no one else can. But wait, there's more! March 6, 2026, the episode Dicebreakers 2, the guys announced that the Spotify deal has ended and they are now an independent podcast, and they're going down from 1 episode to 2 episodes. And this means that we're in a brand new era.
We are wandering free and alone and lost like little lambs, and we have no home and we have no peace.
I didn't make a new section for this because I recorded most of this video before that, and I've been depressed. Okay, great. Back to the video. There's plenty of other stuffs I am neglecting to mention, like their humorous ad reads, the subreddit, etc., but this is just a beginner's guide. It isn't just a dissection on a silly comedy podcast format. It's supposed to be a guide. You want to know where to start, and with 400 plus episodes, I am not expecting you to binge the entire thing. Let me assure you, from personal experience, it is a lot. I listened to 8 to 10 episodes a day. That was not healthy. It was an addiction. I couldn't stop myself because I have 0 self-control. So maybe don't do that. Also, episode 1 is the worst episode to start with. Not that it's bad. No. I just wouldn't recommend it as a starting point, especially if you're new to the show. So, which episode should you start with? Now, most people recommend episode 8, Bob's Fridge, as a good introductory episode. However, I disagree. While it is a very funny episode and very memeable, and it is a definite watch, it's not a good introduction because it doesn't really show off the true format of the show. I would argue that none of the really early episodes are a good introduction because the show has changed so much since then. We also want an episode where each of the hosts can truly shine in their best ways so that people can get a sense of their dynamic. Folks, I've toiled for hours, days, weeks, not years, on the question, what is the perfect episode to introduce anyone to Distractable and say this is definitively what Distractable is? I came up with the perfect answer. It is not without its flaws, but this episode that I am going to recommend truly exemplifies each of the host's strengths and demonstrates the true format of the show, and its gloves.
Yeah, you're not prepared for this. 2 words. Glauber's salt.
No, really, it's Glauber salt. I am being 100% serious when I say that this is peak Distractable. Fans of the show are probably enraged and confused and shocked that I would suggest this, but please, if you would, allow me a moment to explain myself, because this is the Distractable episode. It perfectly encapsulates Mark's stubbornness and hyperfixation on a certain topic. It also has Wade, who is not engaging with Mark's topic, but is distracted by his own subplot, and it is magnificently balanced out by Bob, who is both engaged with Mark's topic and simultaneously the straight man to Wade's antics. However, I have to give a warning to anyone who starts with this episode. We don't know what he does with the Glauber salts. And that statement doesn't make any sense right now. Once you listen to the episode and you go back to this point in the video, you will understand what I'm saying when I say we don't know what he does with the Glauber salts, if at all. There's no satisfying conclusion to the theories put forth in this episode. With that said, I still believe that this is the perfect starting episode, because this is peak Distractable. You can tear me apart in the comments, but you know deep down I'm right. Hopefully at this point you've enjoyed the episode and you're asking, which one next? Should I watch episode 1 now? No. Stop trying to watch episode 1. I will tell you when to watch episode 1. Got it? Now you're going to watch what everybody wants you to, which is Bob's Fridge, because it is one of the funniest episodes and it is often referenced to. But I do have one other recommendation for you, which is Wade's Widow Philosophy Hour Part 2. Why Part 2 instead of Part 1? Well, Part 1 is not as focused and the guys don't engage with the topic very well. This episode solves both of those problems and is also a great showing of the more thoughtful side to the show. And now you're gonna say, Lucy, that's only 3 episodes. There's like 400. How am I ever gonna catch up? Well, first of all, you should be listening to the most recent episode. We need eyes and ears on the new stuff. Start watching on your preferred podcast platform. Follow, subscribe, rate, like, whatever. Okay? Second of all, in terms of catching up, I see 2 paths. As in, I made 2 different top 10 lists. You've seen the peak of Distractable. It's time for you to see the lowest of valleys. I present the Distractable Gauntlet. This ranges from the weirdest to the grossest, and also the kind of boring. Are these the worst episodes? No, not at all. In fact, while making this list, there was a lot of overlap between this and my top 10, so that says something about me. It is a true test on whether or not you will enjoy the host's sense of humor, which is important in a comedy podcast. So what's on this list? Starting off strong with the worst piece of shit episode ever.
This is a travesty. This is why I should not be put in charge of things.
This honestly isn't a bad episode. It's just a little sad at the end. Never hug your teacher.
And that said, at least I didn't hug my teacher.
All right, man.
This has a lot of secondhand embarrassment, but it's also very funny. Hair.
Around
You know
on the
what?
body.
Ways to hair. Sure.
This is the first episode. Now you can watch the first episode. Okay? Just know it's a little disturbing. Weird, part 1, 2, and 3.
And it's about to get weird in here.
These episodes are truly a test of patience, and exactly what I mean when I say Mark and Wade are annoying. The pre of life.
It's the pre of life!
Again, not a bad episode. I found it really funny, but I can understand that it could put some people off. Nah, I'd win part 1 and part 2.
Dear Penthouse Forum, I never thought it would happen to me.
Part 1 is mostly here so you can understand part 2, but part 2 is in a similar boat as the pre of life, where it is truly disgusting. However, if you find this episode half as funny as I did, then you will enjoy this podcast. And finally, the 4th of July.
This is a pro-America episode. It's our 4th of July. Poo-lie.
You can probably gather from the title that it's another gross one, but I found myself laughing at it, so maybe you will too. Your other option is my personal top 10. These are, in my opinion, the best episodes. I'm not going to go into each one because every explanation will be, it made me laugh really hard. This is what I personally love from Distractable, and this is a ranked list and not in chronological order.
I love how people that are just joining the podcast today, they're going to get lawyer jokes, law jokes, immature sex jokes, and that's it.
That's a pretty good demonstration of our podcast, honestly.
Congratulations, we've knocked out 23 episodes. Now there's only 400 still, give or take, because I don't know when I'm going to release this. So if you want more of my suggestions, I have plenty. Once again, I see 2 paths. That's right, I made you 2 more playlists. And you can choose which one you want to watch first. We have the quote-unquote lore playlist and the very funny episodes that did not make my top 10 list. The former are episodes that establish ongoing bits. I did make an effort to include in my first 2 playlists episodes that are referenced often within the show. However, I couldn't include all of them because I felt that would be a little too overwhelming for a first-time listener. In this list, I try to whittle down what I believe are the episodes that are most frequently called back to or establish some new element to the show. I do not believe that this is a comprehensive list, but it is a list with 40 episodes on it. It's supposed to be a starting off point, just so you can have a better understanding of the in-jokes. I did my best to put these in a chronological order, but there might be some mistakes in there. The latter says what it is on the tin. If you like the Gauntlet, if you like my favorites, then you'll enjoy these. This is only 20 episodes. Again, I didn't include any of these in my initial list because I don't want to overwhelm the newcomers. So if you don't care about references and you're just here for a good time, then this is your playlist. If you're keeping track, I just gave you 80 episodes to watch. I'm not saying you have to watch in this order. I'm just giving you my suggestions so you're not overwhelmed, especially with a show that's been going on for 5 years, and for 3 of those years, twice a week. It can be intimidating to get into something that's already been well established with a potentially ravenous fan base, but that's why I'm making this video, to help you or anyone interested to get their foot in the door and hopefully enjoy the podcast as well. Because I know there are some people out there who want to listen but don't know where to start. Hopefully you find my list helpful. More likely you're already a fan of Distractable and you're sharpening your pitchforks. Please be nice to me. And if any of the actual Distractable hosts are watching, thank you for making this show. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all the laughs and gaffes you guys put out there. And I wouldn't be surprised if you titled an episode The True Guide to Distractable, because if anyone has any right to tell me I'm wrong, it's you guys. Also, shout out to the team behind Distractable. The editors, producers, artists, whoever. I don't know all of you, but you all also make this show what it is, so thank you. Now get out there and watch, and when you're done with that, share this video with people who aren't watching until we get everybody all over the world in on this podcast and we're back in the #1 spot where it belongs. Also, wait, I have a great idea for an episode, please. It's so good, the other two can't know what it is, but only you can do it. Only you can do it. DM me, please, on Instagram or whatever, I don't know. Hey, Editor Lucy here. Thank you so much for watching the video. I didn't really promote myself at all in this. I stream on Twitch, so I guess check that out and also subscribe.